Welcome to Durga's Tantra podcast. My name is Iris Disse. We are sitting here in Ecuador in our school in this moment. We share teachings of Tantra, yoga, arts and shamanism so that you can get a taste of it and how all this teaching dance together. We created this podcast and we really hope enjoy it. Aho. Welcome to Durga's Tantra podcast. The theme of today is Shakti, awakening, exploration into the spheres of female power. Female power. So, there were years where I was asking myself, why were women so dangerous for men that they had to suppress them so much, that they had to burn them, that they had to break their feet, that they cannot walk anymore, that they had to create the situation that priestess in all time of love, who could receive men and make love with different men in a sacred space, were just called whores. So what was happening? What is it that makes women so dangerous, or made them so dangerous? Because when I was looking around, I feel today, if I feel that is what very often is defined of strong women, that are very often fathers' daughters who are very great in their jobs and very efficient, and they can really walk the arrow of I call it, meanwhile, male energy, going from A to B, focusing on a target without feeling or looking left and right. So, in the moment, very often we define this as strong women. I myself was one of these strong women, being director in theater and actress. And as a director, I felt, that was interesting. When I was making direction in a big theater, there were a lot of people I had to work with. There are people for the mask, the one working with the light, the one working on the stage, the designers, the dramaturg, my actors. So all these people, I had to be like the chef. And I worked with a lot of men there. And I felt that the men just were testing. Does she know what she's doing? When they felt that I'm knowing what I'm doing, the men had no problem of just listening and working with me together as a woman. So that was very interesting. And later I thought, okay, so that we can do the same, like meeting them in their own field, it seemed that this was not the danger. So there must be something more profound beneath it. No? Today what I see us with Exit, I mean, I am really shocked to see, for example, that in Germany the minister who sends soldiers into war, prepares war, make propaganda, that is a woman. I mean, for me that is nothing to do with female strength, because for me, being a woman, we are going always, no matter where we are in feminism, that we go with life. And it's totally clear that we need to have the same rights as men, but it doesn't mean that we function the same. So in my life came the moment when I had reached this point of success in this arts and theater world, that I suddenly felt something is missing. I can do this, but it doesn't feel that this really fulfills me and that it's a path I want to go. And latest, when my son was born, I found out that the energy field I'm dancing has no space for being a mother. And that was a real shock. I will later go to that point, come back. Then I was reading in this phase a very interesting story, and that was, I think, from the Grail, from the King Arthur storytelling, legends. And there was a situation described that there was a woman and she had two men. She had a lover and her husband, and she was sitting home in the castle when both men met, fighting each other on the battlefield. And she was just weaving. She was sitting there weaving, ding, 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 wang, wang, ding, ding, and weaving one thread and another thread, ding, 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 wang, ding, ding. And as she was weaving, she was visiting the battlefield in her visions. And then she started to see the ravens who were eating the dead bodies of the one who lost, and on the other side. And then she was seeing the energy of both men who were leading this battle. And keeping on weaving, she started to give a lot of power to one, and she put fear in the heart of the one man she didn't want him to win, and a lot of strength in the heart of the other man she wanted to win. And she didn't do nothing. She was sitting and was weaving. And the man she put had the power in, and the love, and her passion, and her wish to win. That was the man who was winning the battle, and where she had put the fear into the heart. Even he had more soldiers, was the one who lost the battle. So when I read that, something inside me struck and said, wow, if that was the power, the old female power, that we can create magic without doing anything, and influence men in a way where they cannot do nothing against it, and that are women who have this sort of knowledge and have this. Usually there were women who had also connection with the womb space. The ones who more were burned in the time of the Inquisition were, for example, midwives, who worked also like doctors, who were the ones of giving birth, but very often in old times were also helping people to die when they felt it's time to go, or whether they're having lost, like in battlefields, legs or band, and didn't want to live anymore. They were also helping to die. So, wow. Then I started to explore more, feeling again and again, what is our power? And I felt that our power has a lot to do with this, that we can be magnets to create reality, to call the reality in that we wish that happened. And we can do that when we are totally connected with ourselves, with our womb space, when we are not ashamed of our sexuality, and when we have this joy in the heart, in our hearts. That creates this sort of Shakti power of dancing reality in, wishes in, with lightness. So then I started to explore more and more into this field, and the next thing was the thing of the playfulness that we need to create. So that we stay connected with our inner childs, that we stay connected with trust into life, and also connecting with the power that we can give life, and that it's not something woo, that it is really a power we are having, that inside us new life can grow, and we don't do anything for it. I mean, it just grows and it's just happening, and it's again a symbol, symbolical level. We can seed things into reality and allow things to grow. And we need patience, for example, that if we grow reality around us, that we don't try, like if you have a plant which is starting to grow maize, you can go and try, hey, grow faster, but it will not grow faster. So that was one part of the exploration. And what I call today, it is a soft power we can get access to. Soft power means that it is not so much power over other people, what I was telling the story of the lady in the Middle Ages and the battlefields. It is more the power to create in our surrounding with power that we create wherever we go, wherever we work, wherever we have jobs, that we get more and more conscious about where, and that is not only conscious, really start to explore where do I feel powerful as a woman. And sure, we should use both elements. It's totally okay to use my possibilities to go from A to B in a very direct and straight way. But that, again, that is one thing, creating energy with a lot of doing. No, I decide I go there and I start to do telephone calls, right, look where I go. And that is totally okay, but it's just, if this part takes over and the other part is gone, is lost, is tabuisa, it's a taboo, in this moment the world and our reality falls out of balance, and that is what is for me happening in this moment, that the female power is somehow so cut off that this part of power is not there anymore, or it's very fragile at the moment. To explore that more, it's an invitation which takes, again, lifetime, and it is also totally not against men, and that is something important to understand, that to say the sacred female power or sacred male power is something which is there to dance together and mirror each other and create this sort of positive tension, this positive dance of reality. But I can never say one is more important or more valuable than the other. So what the exploration is, if we work together in women groups, is now what happened that in the moment, in the mainstream of female power, we identify with going the male way, not having a lot of time, overworking, not even, also later, but also in sexuality, we take the male path of sexuality, not going really deep and existing. If I make love, I do it with heart and my genitals, that I go from down up, but very often just allowing that I do it as a sport. No? What for women, and it has nothing to do with moral, it is just not very healthy for us to do so, for our inner life, for our inner power. So I also want to honor all the feminists who had worked in the time where women power was totally cut off, that we get the same rights. In this time of Virginia Woolf, the writer who wrote this book, this essay, A Room for Myself, where even when you had the possibility, her partner was a doctor, she was a big writer, but she wasn't having a room for herself. That wasn't thought about, that women can have time, space for themselves. There is a woman, there is a film about her, Lou Andrea Salome. She was working with big philosophers of her time, and she was fighting her own life that she could be an independent woman. She didn't want to marry, and it was in this time totally difficult. So all these women, wow, have my total respect and gratefulness, because I feel that I can, in this space where I am now, do so many things I want to do as a woman, I can do because they did this fight. They did it for me, and they did it for all the women who came after them. And that we still don't have the same rights in many aspects, but that we are sort of close to it, and that we can ask for it, and that we feel, oh, it should be like that, even where there are weaknesses. This reality change, that is something, what they did for us, the future generations. Okay, so now I would like to travel to one point. Is this magic we can create, and the next thing is sexuality, which has a lot to do with our inner magic. I feel that one of the biggest stroke, and I think it was the Catholic Church who really used it strongly, was to define that sexuality is a sin and a deadly sin, defining that to live in a body is something very sad, because the body is just the prison of the soul, and that we are all born from women, that make that women are the ones who bring the poor souls into this castle to live this valley of sorrow, how it is said. To create this sort of imaginary, for me, is totally perverted. Because one thing is, if we make love, it is really making love. If we, as a women, can be independent, I don't say we can only have one lover, but in the moment we make love, that our sexuality rises and our heart is totally open, that is a movement which goes from our heart into the sexuality and comes back into our heart. So it's an aid working inside of us. And when this is called dirty, if a woman, always the poor men are seduced from a higher ideal they can have through the women who just bring them down all the time into the dirty world, that is something which really cut us from our sexuality. When the old goddess Mariam, then called Maria, still being the mother of God, not always Jesus, she's called the mother of God, so still the old reality, that all reality started from the oneness, started to be two, and the first second reality starting when it started to move, to vibrate, this oneness to create the world, was feminine, because creation is a feminine power. So that is still known in this word, and it's known in the Tantric Genesis, for example, but that she was totally mutilated, that she gave birth, that she empfangen a child, that she received a child and giving birth as a virgin. And then there were discussions between priests, and that is very crazy, to see whether she was still virgin after giving life, after giving birth. I mean, that is totally crazy for me. And this very weakened archetypal female figure, which is just there as servant. And again, to be a servant of the divine is totally great. But the way it is made, it's that she's servant of a male divine, and nothing to do that all what she represents as a mother and sexual being is absolute, not there, is not present, is cut off. That created an imaginary of the holy, the sacred, and the whore. And that also many men home, they didn't want to make beautiful love with the woman they really loved. All their passion they tried not to do, because your wife has to be sacred. And then your dirty passion you live with her. So it created this totally division, which for women and men is very hurtful. It created a situation where we always had to hide each other from each other, and it created a situation that many women didn't get access to their sexuality, that she couldn't have an orgasm, that she was playing orgasms to please the man. So it was a total crazy situation. And it was, and I think it is forgotten that it was until the 60s that there was a law in Germany that a woman had to obey the Pflichten, the duties of marriage, and that means that the man had the right to make love with her whenever he wanted, and she not only had to accept it, she also had to show him tenderness, even so she didn't feel it. And it sounds totally crazy for me, but it was a law, So, wow, that means we were really so long time objects, and that made this sort of powerless feeling we still have very often. Then in our inner worlds, now we are very often divided. One part of us is the strong woman who goes her path, who chooses her lovers, who is feeling free and in a lot of dimensions. And in other dimensions, she still is waiting for the savior on the white horse, for the one big love who solves all the problems of my life. And when I found him, I will be happy all my life. In the modern world, then there is another picture came up that I find my other half, my soulmate, and then everything was okay. But always waiting for this other half, like not being complete in oneself. And from tantric point of view, we are totally complete in ourselves, and it's important that we are feeling complete in ourselves, that with this sort of power we can meet the other half. If it is the other half, we can meet the other pole, but that both poles are dancing together independently and in freedom and joy, and can come together and let go, and come together and let go. That can only happen if both poles feel, hey, I am totally whole in myself, but it is so much richer my life if I can dance this polarity, this male-female polarity, or female-female or male-male, but always this sort of polarity which creates the tension of deep love, which can help me to transcend my loneliness as a human and go really into this space in moments of grace beyond time and space together through making love. Yes. Then again, when I was talking now about all these heavy times for female power, all these taboos, it's important to remember it, not because I want to explain that we are victims, we are not anymore, but to get clear what's happening inside us very often. because still the taboo is that many of us don't feel that we are sexual beings and that we are meant as sexual beings from God, Mother, Father, that we are totally, that we are sacred as sexual beings, and that our sexuality is something beautiful, what is full of joy, but it's sacred. That means we cannot live it like sports, like meeting somebody in a bar and drinking and just making love chow the other day. We can do that, and it's what I think, not under morality, but a sexual encounter for us women, it's always we are inviting a man in, and there is energy exchange and energy left in us. And then if the man just goes and we do it again and again, we lose a lot of energy. And that is seen in the tantric world, it's the same, and it's seen in the shamanic world, that we lose energy as women if we make love in a way with too many partners without being attached. It's not important for the energy, it's exchange whether we in our heart are attached or not. It is a energetical happening in between men and women that we get more hooked energetically usually than men. Men are hooked through very often if he finds a woman who is totally free, and that's sometimes very tragical. Men usually get hooked from the femme fatale, and the femme fatale is a woman who can have sex, but she doesn't fall into this, oh, I love you, I'm so much with you. Beautiful women, dancers, spies very often were the femme fatale, who could stay within themselves, not falling in love, and having the male energy at the end, wanting something from the man, getting something, and just not hooking. But if the same woman really starts to fall in love, it usually changes, and that is something what's happening to a lot of us we don't have to be the femme fatale, but the ones who made love a lot with different partners and say, I'm not hooking, I'm free, I have my lovers and I still feel free. Very often the moment you fall then deeply in love and think, wow, that is the one and only, and this movie starts, many of us, and including myself, really fall and we lose all our energy and we don't know what's happening. We become totally dependent on our partners, and we go out and we are not anymore. In the everyday life we are still doing our things, but in the relation we just lose our energy. And there still the old archetypes are working out. The archetype, what we learned, and I learned it with a lot of pain, is really that we give our energy to the man. And that is an old pattern we learned thousands of years, that if I love, I have to give my life energy to a man. And that makes that I start to hook in. And it's coming really from the time where without man, a woman could, in the Middle Age, she was totally forbidden to live alone. She was killed when she wanted to live alone, or she lived alone somewhere. And later, women were not allowed to work, and when you had children and family, you were 100% dependent on your man. And so the structure was, the energy structure, if I really love somebody, I give this person all my energy, all my life energy. What makes then that the other partner steps back? Because if somebody falls into me and hooks into me, I make a step back. And not because I don't love. It is an energy law. And if it would be the other way around, it also happens. If you are a woman, and that is a femme fatale who is not hooking, then suddenly the man can fall in and hold, and then she steps back. And with my partner, we had both movements. We had the movements at the beginning that I was totally shocked being a successful director and actress. I fall in love and I'm nobody anymore. And I'm hanging there on him. I couldn't really leave him. I couldn't stay in a good way. And then I finished the relation and I was myself again. I fell in love again. So we had 3 years of coming and going. And then when I suddenly had my position again, then sometimes my partner fell in and felt dependent on me. So we had a strong time, and what really helped was all the tantric techniques to understand what the hell is going on with us. No? And now, being a tantric teacher, I can see it with a lot of couples that these archetypes and these energy concepts are still working out. With the strongest women, when they have their big love, that it happens, they give their energy away and they don't even notice it, why they feel so dependent suddenly. Okay, so out of all these little points, we decided here in Durga Tiger School, together with Merve, who is another teacher who is exploring it, an aeronautic engineer, 3 years now on the, even nearly 4, on a spiritual path, to make a New Year's Vision women retreat, Shakti Awakening. Just that together we learn techniques, we learn about our womb space, we learn about our sexuality, we go deep into ourselves, we learn about what is our freedom, why is it important that we meet sometimes only inter-women, why can we have sex with many but we still somehow feel mutilated psychologically now, that we cannot really enjoy this connection, and the sexual dance. What is it what we still want from men? This big longing to find somebody who just makes me happy, even so I feel I am strong somehow alone, but still this very deep longing that he should make me happy instead of the longing which is also coming, or we are both together in freedom and look into the same direction and go into the world. Also, why we are so contrary, that one moment we say to our partners, hey, I can do this alone, I don't need your help, just leave me alone, I do my thing. And the next man we say, oh, why you don't help me, and I would like to, and you do never, blah, blah, blah. And then why we give always very confusing informations to my partner, depending on what side I am acting out at the moment. Am I in my male side acting out, or in this old pattern female side? And then from all that to explore, okay, what is it really, this female power? And how can we breathe into it? And how can we embrace it? And how can we use it to create a better life for ourselves, for our partners, for our children, and for all what surrounds us? To feel that we are much stronger than we think in this, and that we can help to create a different world. And it's totally needed at the moment. That is what I feel. It is totally needed that we women find our own power back, and can live it, and can explore it. And I guess, again, it's a lifelong process. Yeah, I think in this moment and time, space where we are, hey, Shakti is calling, hey, we have to do something. Something has to be healed, and both powers have to come into balance. And that means, maybe the last word, if we say that the system at the moment is very patriarchal, it doesn't mean that it is against men, because patriarchal system is just, it's a system where it's like invented by men, where on the top there are very little persons who take the power, but all the ones who are beneath are suffering, not only the women. It's created in a way that men and women cannot live in love and friendship, because all what I tried to explain before, all the things which made it impossible nearly that you can meet in freedom and love, that it's a situation where men and women are suffering, both are suffering. It is not something where all the men having the strength and all the women we are the victims. No, it's a system where both are victimized, and also the imagery of the male, what a real male is, if you look still into all these films of one hero is there, poor and alone, saving the world. It's a bullshit information. The world needs men and women working together and creating together and saving the world together. Saving the world, I don't know, but creating a new world together. Yes, Shakti awakening and Shiva awakening, and then dance together. That is what I'm totally convinced in my life, that this is a path we have to go together, men and women, and both have to learn independently something also what is our real power to do so. Aho. Thank you for listening to our podcast. It was really great to share with you. I enjoyed it, and I would totally appreciate if you write us questions, insights, your wishes. You become co-creator of the next episodes. You find us under www.durgasteigerschool.com and in our Instagram. So, have a great day.